Sean Payton knows how to get his team ready.
It's just been fantastic. You can tell how confident this team is because he asked them, is there anyone out there that scares you? We are in a great position here.
O'Connell deflected, and it's intercepted by Surtain.
Rodgers is sacked and loses the ball.
In trouble, he's sacked.
Grabbed from behind. Allen's got him. Another sack. That's the fourth by the Denver defense. The number one defense in sack.
Loads it up, floats it to the end zone. It is incomplete.
Love y'all, man. Love this team, man. We're going to keep fighting. Let's go.
2 years ago, the Denver Broncos had one of the worst defenses in NFL history. Now, in 2025, they're ranked one of the best. Some experts are even calling them better than the one that dominated Super Bowl 50. Now, we think that's being overly optimistic, but still, how the hell does a team go from historically bad to potentially record-setting in just 2 years? And what exactly makes them so damn good this season? Well, strap in and we'll show you, because the 2025 Broncos D is about to take us on a wild ride.
Here we talk about we're in session right now. We're making memories right now.
We make the talk in the house, bro. We can do it. We run this. The team run through what? Take pride in that. Take pride in yourself, bro.
Be great, be legendary, special.
February 7th, 2016. The Denver Broncos didn't just win Super Bowl 50, they absolutely owned the Carolina Panthers. Well, at least on one side of the ball anyway. By the time the dust settled, Peyton Manning and the offense had only managed a dismal 194 total yards and 1 touchdown. Yet Denver still dominated Carolina 24-10. And that's because the defense was flat out suffocating as they tore apart the 15-1 Panthers. They sacked the self-proclaimed Superman Cam Newton 7 times.
Newton will be hit from behind, and down he goes. And there's DeMarcus Ware with a big sack.
Forced 4 turnovers and scored on a Von Miller strip sack that Malik Jackson scooped up in the end zone.
The ball is free. Malik Jackson got the ball.
It was the kind of performance that defined an era. And for a moment, Denver's identity was clear. This was a franchise built on defense.
No fly zone in the building. Super Bowl 50. It's on us on the D, baby.
It might fly everywhere else, but when it comes to this back end, it ain't gonna fly.
Yeah, it's rough pickings.
Now, to be fair, we're not even sure it was legal to have Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, and Chris Harris Jr. on the same defense together, and yes, we know how crazy it is to say this 2025 group may be better, but we'll get into that more in a minute. First, we need to talk about the slow decay of the 2015 unit, because less than a decade later, the no-fly zone was left wide open, and the team's identity wasn't just gone, it was humiliated.
It's shocking what has transpired in Denver this year.
Now, before we dive into everything about that, hit like and subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on more NFL redemption stories just like this one. Now, in week 3 of the 2023 season, the Miami Dolphins hung a 70 burger on the Broncos. That's 7-0.
This is the dynamic here. He's in for 6.
They gave up 10 touchdowns and 726 yards of offense.
Obviously, that was embarrassing and tough to watch.
The same franchise that once bullied an MVP on the biggest stage was now the punchline of every headline in America. At least it was until the last thing anyone expected to happen happened. From that humiliating performance in South Beach came a slow but violent shift. Nik Bonitto exploded into the kind of pass rusher who changes games with one hit.
Buried. Nik Bonitto coming around the blind side.
He's different. Yeah.
Patrick Surtain started locking down receivers like a shadow, and Sean Payton made a call that seemed insane at the time, keeping defensive coordinator Vance Joseph after the Miami meltdown. That decision didn't just change the season, it changed the future of the Broncos defense. When the scoreboard in Miami lit up to 70, most people figured Joseph was donezo. Broncos country wanted him gone, the media piled on, and Sean Payton had an easy out. Fire the defensive coordinator, make a statement, and buy time to reset. But Payton didn't bite. Instead, he stood by Joseph when the entire league thought Denver had hit rock bottom. At first, it looked like stubbornness. Then it turned into the pivot point of the season. Because 5 weeks after being disgraced by the Dolphins, those same Broncos hosted the Kansas City Chiefs at Mile High, and they shut down Patrick Mahomes and the defending champs 24-9 without giving up a touchdown, and it wasn't a fluke.
1st and 10. Messy pocket. Fumble. Was it Cooper? He vacuums it in, and the Chiefs have fumbled.
From that week on, the defense flipped a switch. The unit that couldn't stop a nosebleed in September started ripping the ball away from everybody. The takeaways poured in while the Broncos rattled off a 5-game win streak fueled by turnovers and swagger. Sean Payton's locker room didn't fracture, it tightened. And by the end of the season, Denver's defense had climbed from dead last in scoring to the 14th ranked defense from week 4 on. Not elite, not yet at least, but it was coming. And what stood out the most wasn't just the improvement, it was the message. If Sean Payton and Vance Joseph can survive that massacre, maybe they were building something that could weather anything. And as the dust settled on 2023, a few key players started to rise above the rest. Superstars who weren't just part of the turnaround, but the foundation of what came next. By the time the 2024 season kicked off, the question was no longer whether Denver could recover from the Miami debacle, it was how much could they actually build on that turnaround, and the answer came fast. Because the defense didn't just recover, it got downright dangerous. PS2 was the headliner. Only 24 years old, but already an all-pro and playing corner at a high level reminiscent of Revis Island. 4 picks, 132 return yards, and a 100-yard pick 6 that flipped a game.
Throws intercepted by Surtain. Nobody's going to catch him. Going all the way for a Denver touchdown.
Quarterbacks eventually stopped looking his way, but when they did, they regretted it. Because PS2 wasn't just shutting down receivers, he was erasing half the field. Meanwhile, Zach Allen became the hammer up front. 8.5 sacks, 15 tackles for loss, and 40 quarterback hits.
You gotta get 2 linemen on him. He has the strength and power, but also he has the technique.
Hubbard, nowhere. Zach Allen all over that.
40 in one season. Bro, do you have any idea how insane that is? Those are the kind of numbers that you put on the shortlist for Defensive Player of the Year, though that award went to another Bronco who we'll get back to in a minute. Next to Allen, DJ Jones anchored the middle, while John Franklin Myers was the perfect complement to Allen on the right side. 7 sacks, 18 quarterback hits, and relentless pressure that forced offenses to pick their poison. And behind them, the safeties came alive. Brandon Jones was everywhere with 115 total tackles, 3 picks, and 10 passes defended. He played like a madman who could change a game in a snap. At strong safety, PJ Locke added toughness and enough ball hawking to keep quarterbacks guessing. Hell, even the role players started punching above their weight. Cody Barton chipped in a couple of interceptions and over 100 tackles. Riley Moss racked up 86 tackles and 8 passes defended in 14 games. And in just 9 starts, Jaquan McMillan picked off 2 passes, including a pick 6.
Here's a pick. Intercepted. McMillan. The other way. Touchdown, Broncos.
Now, that's a lot of stats to hit you with, but what the numbers show is what made the defense lethal. This wasn't a group carried by 1 or 2 superstars. It was a collection of them, with each piece forcing offenses to adjust and each snap giving coordinators headaches. And we haven't even talked about the true monsters on this defense yet. As a result of all that pressure, Denver led the league in sacks, pulled down 15 interceptions, had 12 forced fumbles, 5 defensive touchdowns, and a safety. They were physical and opportunistic, but more than anything, they were feared again. And if that so-called supporting cast gave Denver its backbone, it was the pass rush that gave them their bite. In 2024, a new wave of rushers exploded onto the scene, bringing back memories of the Von Miller days. Every great Denver defense has started with one thing: a dominating pass rush. In the 70s, it was the Orange Crush. In 2015, it was Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware terrorizing quarterbacks. And in 2024, the Broncos found their next wave of chaos at linebacker with Nik Bonitto leading the charge. In just his 3rd season, this second rounder was already playing like the nightmare Denver drafted him to be.
4-man rush. Nik Bonitto, his 3rd sack of the season.
13.5 sacks, 16 tackles for loss, and 24 quarterback hits. He was winning matchups and breaking games wide open every week, including a 71-yard pick 6 and a 50-yard scoop and score. On the opposite side, Jonathan Cooper did the dirty work and then some. 10.5 sacks, 20 quarterback hits, and the kind of relentlessness that kept OCs from ever getting comfortable.
Bring it home with dub for y'all. Proud of it. We're going to keep stacking, keep getting better, man.
Cooper didn't always get the spotlight, but his presence was the reason Bonitto had so many single matchups to feast on. Then came the youth movement. Without making a single start, Jonah Ellis showed flashes with 5 sacks and 7 tackles for loss. Dondre Tillman added 5 sacks off the bench, proving Denver's edge depth was deeper than most starters across the league. Together, these big cats made up one of the most balanced edge rotations in all of football. Bonitto brought the speed, Cooper brought the power, and Ellis and Tillman provided fresh length that kept the heat turned up for 4 quarters. And that depth made a huge difference, because unlike in years past, Denver didn't rely on one star to carry the load. Offensive lines couldn't slide protections to one side, and quarterbacks couldn't run away from the pressure. No matter where they went, someone was hunting, including the eventual Defensive Player of the Year winner, Patrick Surtain II.
The 2024 AP Defensive Player of the Year is Patrick Surtain.
Now, all of those accolades and numbers that team racked up, it was the franchise record 63 team sacks that told the story that mattered most. The Denver Broncos had their identity back, but sacks and highlights are only half the battle. If Denver wanted to stay dangerous, they needed to keep feeding the pipeline. Now, if 2024 proved the Broncos could build a nightmarish defense again, the 2025 draft showed Sean Payton's mindset moving forward, because April wasn't about patching holes. There weren't any. It was about loading up, stockpiling, and making sure the defense remains the engine. The seeds were planted in 2023 and 2024 with Moss and McMillan. Those two, alongside Patrick Surtain II, gave Denver one of the deepest quarterback groups in the league. But the front office wasn't satisfied, so they went back to the well using their first-round pick on Texas cornerback Jahdae Barron. Fast, physical, and aggressive at the line, Barron looks like the kind of rookie who can thrive in the slot or outside. With Barron, Moss, McMillan, and Surtain covering the back end, Denver can line up 4 deep against the pass-heavy offenses of the modern NFL, but they didn't stop there. In the 3rd round, the Broncos grabbed Sai'vion Jones out of LSU, a 6'5" defensive end with length and burst who slots perfectly into the rotation behind Allen and Franklin Myers. 2 picks later, they doubled down, adding Alabama linebacker Quandarius Robinson, a rangy, versatile, and perfect plug-and-play for a defense that thrives on disguises and speed. These weren't luxury picks, they were investments in a future where depth wins as much as stars. Denver had learned that lesson the hard way, having been gutted by injuries, attrition, and a lack of depth at defense in the past. So, the new approach is clear. If one guy goes down, another steps in and holds the standard. That's how you build a defense that lasts. They have one of the deepest, but drafting talent is only half the formula. To turn raw athletes into game wreckers, you need a culture that demands violence, precision, and accountability on every snap. And that's exactly what Denver went to work on next. Speed and strength alone don't make a defense terrifying. It's the culture and the edge in how you practice, how you hit, and how you finish plays. After years of drifting, the Broncos finally found theirs again, and it started at the top. Sean Payton didn't come to Denver to run up the nest team. He came to restore dominance, and part of that meant standing by Vance Joseph when everyone wanted him gone. That decision sent a clear message. If you're in this locker room, accountability is the standard. No scapegoats, no panic moves, and no excuses. In 2025, that mentality has taken root, and adding linebacker Greenlaw has been a big piece of it. After 6 seasons of wreaking havoc in San Francisco, Greenlaw brings his own brand of controlled chaos, flying downhill, blowing up runs, and setting the tone in every pile. This beast doesn't just bring talent, he's an overall attitude upgrade that fits this unit to a T. But Greenlaw isn't the only ex-Niner Denver scooped up. Talanoa Hufanga is another tone setter whose instincts and physicality are turning the secondary into a pack of hunters. In the trenches, Allen and Franklin Myers are holding the new guys to the same standard on every snap. Fight through blocks, collapse pockets, and make quarterbacks miserable. The ripple effect is obvious. Young guys like Moss and Ellis don't just see veterans making plays, they're being forged by leaders who demand effort and accountability from every rep. And that culture has become contagious, putting this group light years ahead of the one that gave up 70 in Miami.
What have you learned from them as you go into year 2?
Honestly, a lot. Nik and Cooper helped me a lot with my rush and just feeling more confident in my rush, going to all that. So.
Now, this is a defense where every practice feels like game day, and every game is going to feel like an ambush to opposing offenses. As 2025 gets rolling, Denver's identity is clear again. They're tough, violent, opportunistic, and unrelenting. A defense that other teams are going to be lucky to survive and damn near impossible to beat. Which begs another set of questions. With this much talent, this much depth, and this kind of culture, can they actually be better better than the 2015 no-fly zone defense. I'll tell you one thing, in the opener they looked like it, holding Tennessee to 133 total yards while racking up 6 sacks, 12 QB hits, and 7 tackles for loss, and 0 touchdowns. But week 2 was a total collapse, so the short answer is no. They're not the 2015 no-fly zone. They're young and will have to go through some growing pains as we've seen, but the potential for greatness is clearly there. The only question that remains is, how quickly can they reach that potential? Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos somehow turned 70 points of embarrassment into the foundation of the most dangerous defense in football. And now we're about to learn exactly how far that will take them. But first, let us know what you think should be the nickname for this revamped defense that's about to follow in the footsteps of the Orange Crush and no-fly zone. Drop your take in the comments section below and hit like if you've been riding with Broncos country. Also, subscribe to Snap Count for more stories of NFL glory, heartbreak, and redemption.